All right, welcome back to the Songwriter's Couch, and we are now on episode number 41, almost at 50, Allie. We're getting there slowly but surely. I'm waiting for the 100 episode one. But thank you, everyone, for watching, for listening, whatever you guys are doing. Thank you again for liking and subscribing and doing all that. And if you have yet to do that, please go down there and subscribe. It really helps us out, especially if you enjoy the content. You want to see cool new songwriters, artists, and the like. Do that. Do their thing here on the Songwriter's Couch. And we've got another special episode today. But before we do that, thank you again to the sponsors, too. And what else? Patreon. You can subscribe. You can give us money. Help us. For as little as $1 a month, guys. You can help keep us going. So as I stated before on the show today, we've got one of my bandmates, the one I'm the most fearful of having on, as we joke around. He's kind of the what did I call you? The musical director. I guess, of the band, right? Was that the title I gave you?
I think so.
Something like that, yeah. Musical director. One, Mr. Greg Machin.
Hey, good evening.
Machin?
Machin.
The
month from the facial feature.
I always get your last name. I don't know why. I'm like Machin.
Everyone does.
Machin.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I get the same fucking thing about my. Of course, I curse right out of the gate. But for my last name is not easy for people to pronounce as well, Greg. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, we just got done with a pretty in-depth practice session for our new album. So that was fun, and we're both exhausted. So now we're drinking some cognac.
It's the only way to go.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the people at home there, Greg, kind of what you do in the band, I guess, and what you play, and maybe a little bit about you.
Sure. So my name's Greg. Lovingly called English Greg. I have no idea why. It's just one of those things. In the band, I take the part basically of the keyboard player, and really it's not what I would call keyboards. It's everything but keyboards most of the time. It's filling in all of those spaces that we need to fill in to create the sound we're trying to create. Musically, I tend to spend a lot of time beating down the members of the band. It's like, well, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. You have to sing this line, you have to sing that line, and it's a lot of. I continually, pound home if you want a $10,000 payday, you got to produce a $10,000 product.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. And one of the things that's great about kind of the way we work together is I'm probably the least technical musician that exists. I always, not to compare myself to a legend like Kurt Cobain, but Kurt Cobain always was like, I don't know the chords I'm playing, I don't know what I'm singing. It just kind of is things that are happening. He's a good songwriter or whatever. But I think that we work well together because you kind of pick up my slack when it comes to the technical.
Well, yeah, you're right. But then the history is replete with people that have done that. I mean, Michael Jackson couldn't play a single instrument and couldn't write music. There were tapes in his house with him going do 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 do, just layering these things on top of each other. Paul McCartney doesn't read music. John Lennon didn't read music. The list of great artists that couldn't read a note but could deliver outstanding performances. The two don't go hand in hand. I mean, the technical part of that for Michael Jackson was Quincy Jones. So it's. Yeah, I suppose that's kind of how we fit together. I'm almost the technical background to the talent that you've got, if you like.
And we've been playing together for a long time, which is why this next segment is going to be a little bit more difficult for me today. Because how long have we been playing? It's over 10 years.
It's
now,
11
right?
years. It's 11 years. Yeah.
And so we're going to come up to the two truths and a lie segment of the show, where basically you give me three things. Like quote unquote about you, one of which is a lie, and I'll have to guess which one out of the three is a lie.
Okay.
And how we start that usually is by having the theme song come in right now. And we're back.
Okay.
All right, so the theme song came in. We're all set. Greg, do you have three things that you can deliver to me where I can try and decipher the truth from the lie? Because the other thing is, I probably know a lot of the truths, so I kind of have a good idea of like what could be true. So, but I'm sure you're full of surprises, as I've found over the years, Greg. So
okay, so I speak 5 languages. Let's see, number 2. So I speak 5 languages. I play 14 instruments. And as a ballroom dancer with 20 years experience, I can't remember a single friggin' step.
Now we have taken some dancing lessons together.
We have.
I don't think we've danced together. Maybe we have at one point. You showed me some steps.
Yeah, I think we went out to bars,
some
parties,
things. Yeah. But all the old ladies loved us because we were probably the youngest in the room there. All right, so 14 instruments. Say 5 languages. Now, I know you know how to dance, so I'm feeling like you're setting me up by the way you phrased the last statement about not remembering a single step. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think he does remember the steps. What are you going to go with, Allie?
I'm going to go number 2, 14 instruments. I think you know a lot of instruments. I think 14.
The best. If you need to go number 2, there's. So the 14 instrument. Why are you saying 14 instruments?
Because I think that he probably knows a lot. I know Greg and I've seen him play a lot, but 14.
Yeah, I know keys, guitar,
And he's
flute.
So the language thing.
So I'd say.
The language thing.
I'd say. I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with the last one.
The ballroom dancing.
The ballroom dancing that you can't remember any steps. I'm going to say that's a lie, simply because I think that you do know the steps and you do remember them, Greg.
Okay, and that's your decision. Is that the group decision?
I'm going to do
So
that.
we get different answers.
Okay, it's the truth. I cannot remember a single step.
Damn it.
What I can do is when I go into classes, like, yes, I can pick them up super fast.
I got you.
Can't remember them.
Can't
ever.
remember them
Cannot remember 'em.
offhand.
Nope.
So which one is the lie then?
The instruments. I think
Oh,
I
so
probably
14.
play about 12.
Huh.
It's around there.
Maybe a lot, but
Yeah, it's around
So just
there.
too shy of the.
Yeah, give or take. I sort of like plucked a number out of the air.
What are the 5 languages? So French, I think you know, right?
French, German, Italian, Mandarin Chinese.
I didn't know you knew German too.
Ich spreche Deutsch. Mandarin Chinese a little. Enough to put together a couple of sentences.
Yeah.
But
Those are tough for me. I have some cousins that know like Korean and Japanese and stuff. I could never pick up any of it.
I studied a lot of linguistics, like to and from the UK to the US. It's like 7 hours on a plane. I had books and books and books.
Yeah.
And it was just
Do me a favor too. Just bring that a little bit
super
closer
interesting.
to you. You won't get a lot of sound.
There we go.
Which was the hardest? Was it German?
Oh God, no, German's easy.
German's easy.
German's easy.
Is it German's a Latin language or no?
German's a Nordic language. So German, Norwegian, Dutch, that sort of thing.
Do they have similar like?
Yeah, English is a Nordic language.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and then of course your Latin base, your French, your Spanish, your Italian, fine. The challenge with Chinese, of course, is it's a phonetic language. Oh my God, what a beast!
Yeah, and there's-
You know, sanchu. You know, it's like stop.
Right. So I guess we can get into kind of the background of like where did you start? And I think I've had you on. We had a podcast formerly, Infiltrate Radio, and we did a little interview with you. But for people that have not seen that, where did you kind of start your musical career? Like as a kid, did you?
Yeah.
Were you playing music already or?
Yeah, I probably started with most kids in my local like junior school or what it would like kindergarten with recorder and actually violin of all things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was not good at the violin.
I've always wanted to play the violin, but I never bought one to like
You'd
do
be
it.
surprised how much of an affinity there is between violin and guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lose the frets, so it becomes a lot more about hand feel.
Yeah, that's the thing. Does it have dots on the top to help you or anything? No, right? You just gotta
You
know
can't see them
where-
anyway. I mean, it's you're constantly wrapping your hand.
Yeah, that's
ideally
true.
you're supposed to be reading the music.
Right.
That's kind of how that works.
and just know where your hands. I've always struggled
Yeah.
with like I've tried to play fretless basses and stuff, and I lose where I am, kind of.
I spent a lot of time, especially this most recent time where I've been working up, practicing not looking at the left hand and trying to read music just to force myself to improve that skill. And it's again, it's a singular skill. Like anything, you have to work it. It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
Definitely. But
So you started out obviously with all the school stuff, right?
Yep,
And then did you learn to read music back then, or was it?
I mean, we could all read treble clef by the age of probably 7 or 8 years old, barely.
Yeah,
I then I got involved in my local church. I started learning keyboards, and I had a real affinity for keyboards. For me, it was very much listening to what I liked off the TV, and then copying it and listening to things that my parents were playing on their record
What
player.
what kind of stuff? When was that?
So at the age of 10, I was playing the theme to Automan. Do you remember Automan?
No.
Like one of the Belisario like superhero themes in the early 80s. That was a favorite of mine. A-Team, obviously, things that you listen to on the TV all the time. I did a lot of that.
So you learned to play that?
I could do that. Theme to Dallas, because Dallas was big in the UK. Everyone wanted to know who shot JR for umpteen years. So I did a lot of that, a lot of keyboard playing. I sort of got sucked into my local church, and they having identified a bit of musical talent, they then pushed me in that direction. So I was involved in church worship for 10 years, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just saying that to you earlier today, as a matter of fact, when you came for band practice. I'm like, I wish I would have had like church, like chorus, that sort of thing. But I did take like drum, what is it called? Marching band.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of like rhythm, training, but I didn't get a lot of the, the technical, like especially in a church, that I just find them to be more technically like, with harmonies and
that's the big thing.
All that kind of stuff. You learn a lot from that.
There was a lot of, and I distinctly remember, there was a lot of, dear old Gladys would start off her favorite chorus in whatever key she wanted to sing it, and you would kind of join. And then at some point, when everyone started joining in, you'd have to then modulate to the correct key. So that was always entertaining and fun. But it's a great. To be honest, I liken it to like the players in the Baptist churches. I mean, they're great keyboard players. And if you've ever been to like an American Baptist church service, they play like from the beginning to the end. It's 2 hours, 3 hours of music, and they're just constantly floating along in the background. It's just a real skill.
So once you were playing in a church, where did you kind of go from there? Was it?
So I lost a flute. That's an interesting story. I met a guy through our local church youth group who worked in the local military band and basically said, we've got a vacancy for a flute player. Do you want to do that? And I was 18 at the time. I was like, yeah, that'd be easy. Not a problem. Not a problem. It was difficult. But they loaned me a flute. This would have been around about, do you remember the first Gulf War, sort of 1990, 91? So they loaned me a flute so that I could learn to play it. And I promptly got the thing stolen out of the back of my car, which was a Mini 850. It was a terrible thing. Yeah. So I joined the army out of guilt for having lost the flute, and that was kind of the beginning of the musical journey. I did 10 years in a band, learning to play the flute and the piccolo, and really my worth was in the fact that I could put together a night's worth of music and sit in the sergeant's mess and play piano, and that was. It meant that the whole band could take the evening off, and then we would all come together. So I sort of earned my money that way, and survived in the regime there. Went on the bandmaster course at the Royal Military School of Music in 2000. Got a bachelor's degree. Went out as a conductor of a military band. Went on to get a master's degree.
Now, was the military very structured, or was it loose like a rock band? I'm being facetious, but
very structured. A lot like so. You remember all that frustrating stuff I do when I wave my hands and tell you all to shut up. A lot like that.
Yeah, but see, I feel like sometimes I worry about the rest of the band. Like I'm very good with that kind of feedback where it's like, all right, just shut the fuck up and and do this or whatever. Sometimes I work, 'cause, musicians tend to be a little more sensitive, So
I try to be very gentle, and I know that I'm not gentle, and I respect that the guys accept that.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. And again, we're playing with some talented musicians,
Yeah.
and it's great to be able to have that malleability and say, look, do this, try this, do but also it's, this thing is not my vision, it's our vision, and consequently, it's like, look, don't do that, do it this way, but now you've got that, but now do something with it, now make it your own, now, and that really is where we can create a lot of great sound. So
and I think that's one of the benefits of like I said, you and me, and especially this band in particular right now, like Andy being in it, and Jonah and Jill, who was on last week's. I think it's going to be right before this one the week before this one airs.
Yeah.
But the band that we have now, I find to be just like you said. One, they're all great players. So if you say, do like, all right, let's do swells. They kind of know the technical wording of stuff too. Crescendos and decrescendos and stuff like that. And I've had bands in the past, and the way that we all work together right now, I think is fantastic. We've had maybe one like big band argument or whatever, throughout the whole thing, which is unusual to not have them constantly. Every week having them. But I really like the dynamic of the band right now, and especially what you've been doing, because I kind of, like I said, I kind of realize that I have shortcomings in the technical department. That's why I said, like, all right, Greg, I can't pay you any more money,
you've got.
But can you take on all the responsibility of the the musical direction of the stuff? And I come in with a raw kind of piece of music, song or whatever, and we end up fleshing it out to this.
But you don't. The thing is what you don't always bring something raw to the band, and also we've all got our parts to play. It's not. I am not the band. You are not the band. Jonah is not the band. We. And consequently, everybody's got something to bring to the table. My particular skill musically is sat behind the keyboards doing the stuff that I do, despite the fact that it's really heavy and I really want to play the bass.
Well, we were joking today because we're both we're not in our 20s anymore, but like carrying shit around. Yeah. I'm like, I'm getting too old for this stuff. Traveling. We just need to be able to make enough money where we constantly have roadies doing that. I think for us.
I do agree.
Which is to your point, making it a $10,000 product or $100,000 product, ideally in my
but it takes time to grow, and it takes it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work.
And I think that your attention to detail really kind of helps make the not only our recordings, like the Music Saved Me. That project was super cool to do because of the vocal arrangements that you kind of came up with, and the way that we put it all together. And I'm excited because we're going to be coming out with this new EP in. At the end of the year, or at least recording it, and then it'll be out first quarter of next year, probably. But
see, that particular product is very interesting to me, and it really it opened my eyes. It taught me a lot, and not. It's not so much that I've got that particular background and I can do that stuff, but bluntly, when you first played the song, I was like, I don't see that this is going to go very far. And it sort of, as we built it and we started putting it together and it started coming to life, it's like, I was wrong about this, and that's that sort of thing is exciting to me. And again, we all grow from these experiences, but and everybody brought so much to that project.
And one of the things I've noticed about myself too, there's this adage of before you say you're bad at something, do it 1,000 times. Like before you say you're bad at painting, paint 1,000 paintings and see how you are after that. I think that one of the goals of my songwriting in the last probably 5 years has been to do what probably one of the most, or a few of the most prolific songwriters in history have done, like the Beatles, like John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and Nirvana, all those kind of bands that write songs. Like I'll challenge myself to write a song with 2 chords, but make it still interesting and have changes and have like the Music Saved Me is what, four chords, pretty much, except for the bridge, right? Like I See Your Shadow, that's 2 chords for the entire song, pretty much. But with everything that happens throughout it, like challenging to make make it simple but not boring.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten, just not to praise myself, but I think I've gotten better at doing that lately. And then with you coming in and seeing it, and being able to hear things in it that I necessarily don't hear or don't.
That's the pianist, and it's one of those random things. I so often say, if you're going to learn an instrument, learn piano first. It's a challenging beast to tackle. It really is. But the insight it gives you into harmony and sound build up is massive.
Yeah. I mean, that's where most theory comes from is from the point of view of the piano. Because even like thirds, I was saying that to you earlier today too, about like learning. For my first instrument was the guitar, and a lot of guitar players do this. When they first learn guitar, they learn the patterns of your fingers versus A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And like
also like what do they call it? Lute tabulature, right?
Yeah, I never got into tabs. I would always kind of hear it and then figure it out from like the bass chords or whatever. And there's YouTube now, so you can go on and learn a song or whatever. But I'm trying to get better at that now too. Like I've realized my shortcomings and how I could be a better songwriter too by knowing some of the technical aspects, which leads us into this next little thing.
I'm not teaching you.
So let's give a quick lesson on music theory for the next 4 hours here to the people at home. No, so I guess what would you say like your favorite thing, I guess, about this particular group of that were of musicians that we're playing in now, the band right now, and then I guess what is as I'm going to ask everyone in the band, what is something maybe that is challenging about working with me, your humble host here, during it, that maybe I can improve or you'd like to see more of or less of from me.
Don't ask that. Okay,
because I think it's important too to see like the dynamic of a band. Like I enjoy feedback. I think it only makes you better to be able to you're
going to throw me out after this. Okay.
Be careful of what you say next, Greg.
Okay, so what makes the band great?
Yeah, classic leadership thing too. You got to say something nice and then follow it up with
crab sandwich.
Yeah, that's right. Is that what it's called? That's a technical word for it. Yeah. You deliver a crap sandwich.
Yeah. Okay. What I love about this band, the sheer flexibility. We've worked with, and you and I, we've worked with a lot of different players.
Yeah.
And people come and people go, and somebody brings something, and then it's like, oh, look, can you just fix this? Can you just do that? And they fall by the wayside, and then in comes somebody else. We have got a lot of really talented people right now, and it's just one of those nexus moments where it's all come together and everybody just delivers.
Yeah.
And it's great because it just gives us so much flexibility to do so much more, and we're experimenting in so many different areas. That's the good. That's the thing that I love. The thing that I would fix. Patrick, where do you want to start? Okay, I did really only the things that.
Here, let's cut to a close up of Greg's face as I pour myself a little bit more
cognac. You made me pour yourself a double. I want you to be a better guitarist, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because you're already a good guitarist. You've got a lot of skill, and you've got a lot of understanding of how to really milk the instrument for sound. I want you to come away from that, and I want you to extend yourself out in different directions. That all comes around the whole. We were discussing this earlier today. The world of timbre. What you've got is if everything is all playing in exactly the same place, you've got no room for top. You've got no room for bottom, and we need to expand outwards. It's like anything. For the last probably year, I've done a lot of work, sort of learning how to use the keyboards, and I'm extending the things that I can do on them, and it's given us opportunity to do new things. So from that respect, it's like learn a little bit of lead, learn a bit of fingerstyle.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that hasn't expanded more, like what I'm doing on guitar and all of that, at least in the last kind of 10 years, is because a lot of the times, like you said, there was kind of some turnover with band members and things, and we'd constantly have to come in and okay, we're gonna have to relearn, and so I'm the glue that's kind of just holding it all together. So I always played kind of
absolutely.
as the main instrument there in case we end up losing losing a member or whatever. It
But
ends
you've
up,
also
you know.
you've also got the fact that on several occasions you've been a soloist,
Yeah.
and it requires you to be able to do that. But when you're working with a band, guitar becomes a color, keyboard becomes a color, bass
Right,
becomes a color, and we start painting rather than
Yeah,
throwing
yeah,
against
and
the
I
wall.
think that's really improved over the last, probably 6 months in particular too,
Yeah.
with the band and how we're arranging not only our live stuff but for recording and, and
yeah.
things like that. And like I said, I've sent you some stuff where I've started learning some more theory and stuff via YouTube, which is a great place to actually start learning theory if you don't know it on harmonies and guitar playing techniques. And I think we're definitely stretching ourselves a little bit too with what we've been playing, because for a while I was dead set on not doing a lot of covers, maybe one or two covers in a set. But nowadays you can't. It's almost like you can't make money without doing, especially in the bar scene or things like that. You kind of have to play.
Well, you've got to look at all of these bands that have been very successful. Where we want to be. Nirvana for us is we're out front with our original stuff, and hundreds of thousands of people listen to our original stuff because it's our sound, and we've got that sound, and it's a great sound, and we've got some incredibly strong stuff and real potent music. But if we can't draw people in to listen to it, they're like, well, yeah, I don't know them.
Right.
It's challenging, but by playing all the covers and being able to deliver that sort of quality in the covers, people start then, it's like, well, can you play this as well? And then we do that, and then we add, one or two of our own originals,
Yeah.
and then 5 or 6, and then suddenly we're going out as an original band back in another band, and that's how we get there. But
Yeah, and I think one of the benefits to doing that too, like adding in a lot of the covers, is it stretches me beyond kind of my normal thing, because sometimes I don't necessarily listen to, like, I haven't listened to that song or that band a lot, but there's one song in particular someone either wanted to hear, or someone in the band came like, hey, I want to do the song, and it forces me to stretch out what I'm where I'm going musically, the melodies that the singer does, or if it's a band where the singer isn't playing the same thing, like isn't playing an instrument, that's also can be a little challenging for me too, because I have to learn a guitar part that a separate guitar player is playing and then also do the vocal on top of it, and
But that also helps us to stretch, and it's one of those things. Again, every time we talk about an iconic song that we're going to do, you're going to play this song. People want to hear that song, that version of the song, because that's what they hear on the radio.
Yeah.
And so if we can recreate that, it turns heads because people are like, really, they can do that? That's pretty impressive. And it builds reputation, and reputation is going to get us where we want to be.
Yeah.
So it's.
What would you say, like, for I guess individuals or people out there kind of starting their music, live performance and recording careers, let's call it. What piece of advice, I guess, would you say for being in a band? Like, I've learned so much about from being married once, but then also from being in a bunch of bands and the way you communicate and all that kind of thing. I guess what would be your piece of advice to?
Wow. Obviously, the good old faithful, being in a band is being in a family. These guys, girls, guys, you're going to spend a lot of time with them, and you're going to have differences. And remember, differences are okay. Don't let them split you apart because you don't happen to like that. It's like the band is the whole. The band is the vehicle that will get you where you want to go. So if you just constantly fight against those people and just divorce from them and start again, you're crushing yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of, if you want your original stuff out there, great. Be passionate about it, work with it, be prepared to extend yourself. Don't sit yourself in a little box and expect everything to come to you, because it really will not. You have to work, you have to market, and just enjoy yourself. If music is life, life is music. If you are not enjoying yourself, stop. You should enjoy yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
Good answer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're coming up on the end of the episode here, Greg. But we are coming up. We don't have a name for the album yet. But we started working on a few of the songs. What would you say the theme or like the genre? I always struggle with that. Like, what is it? I kind of said, okay, we're gonna do a country-esque, country rock-esque, almost mixed with some folk, right? Because we've got like,
Yeah, I'd maybe go with something like Expressions, probably. It's just it's reaching out into a, because we've got, you know, jazz blues with one, you've got sort of folk-esque with another. It's sort of reaching out across genres,
yeah,
which is nice. You know, you've got very sort of introspective in at least one of those songs. So you've got a lot of different styles going on there, and to be honest, I think that's one of our strengths as a band is even with something where we're playing songs that we know very well. There's a lot of variety in those songs, and that variety is what's going to take us places.
yeah. And just before we wrap up here, one of the comments, I guess, on what you were saying about the piece of advice, you know, being in a kind of a group of people together making music, is to let the band as an entity be the thing that guides your decisions as opposed to your personal emotions about things. Because one of the things, you know, probably originally, like a long time ago, I would very much, you know, this is I wrote this song. Mm-hmm. You can kind of take it personally, and you could say, no, I don't want to change it. But I've found that it always is better when it is the input of everyone trying to make the band or the song better, and having that be the thing you're serving, as opposed to serving, you know, just your emotional. No, this is mine, or I want to be the lead keyboard player, and so I need my keyboards louder than everything, and I want to be playing a million notes because I'm that way I look the coolest on stage. Yeah. Like that sort of thing can easily kill a vibe of a band that I think, you know, this band in particular, we work really well together in terms of you know, blending as opposed, you know, working towards the song itself or the band itself, and not our individual parts. So but I personally, like I said, I've told you this before, Greg, I really appreciate everything you do in the band. And I'm hoping for another at least 10 years.
If I live that long.
if not 50, hopefully. And our goal is whoever books Madison Square Garden, I mean, we might not be able to book it out now. You know, we might have like 10 people in the front row of Madison Square Garden. But
if we open,
but that's the goal.
If we open at Madison Square Garden, that's
right.
Win.
That's our first step, right? But I appreciate everything you do in the band, and I'm really excited about this next album because I think we're going to have some we're going to have some video, I think, of the whole album making process, which would be cool. We might be able to make a full kind of like hour documentary on the making of the album, which we kind of toyed around with The Music Saved Me. And if you have not seen or heard that, go and check that out on our YouTube page on this same channel. The Music Saved Me. We got a lyric video, we got a kind of making of video, and then the actual
it was a fun project
video too. Yeah. And I think that's what's going to be expanded here, and what we're going to do in the studio from what we were doing today is super exciting to me. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, and love you, Greg.
Always.
Thank you everyone again for watching, for listening. Anything you want to promote on your own, like that?
I mean, honestly, it's about the band. I get out to play and I get out to do my stuff when the band gets out to do its stuff. So come listen. You know,
unfortunately, the band is in my name, but patrickjouen.com, JAOUEN.com. And what's so funny about that, I say this all the time on here because I feel like I have to justify why it's called that. But we had like a while ago when Jeff was still in the band and Garrigan and all that, we kind of had a vote in the band. I was like, we can name it whatever, and everyone wanted it to be the Patrick Jouen Band. I'm like
Boaty McBoatface.
Right. I keep trying to like shorten it to TBJB so that I don't have to say my own name, because I always get asked, what's the name of your band? And then I have to say my own name, and then people are like, this narcissistic ass name the band itself. But I'm super excited about what we're gonna have coming out, and everyone go down, like, subscribe. Please share with your friends. Go follow Greg on social media and comment on all
don't follow me.
his sexy pictures that he puts up. Allie, thank you again. Love you. And we're going to end the show now, I guess. So thank you all for watching. Thank you to our sponsors. And we'll see you on the next one. Say bye, Greg.
Goodbye, Greg.